What up, guys, and welcome to another breakdown and analysis of a token that I think should be on your radar and literally just released about 30 minutes ago at the time of this recording, and that is Altlayer. Now, Altlayer is also having an airdrop claim. So in this video, I'm going to tell you guys how to actually claim your airdrop, as well as everything you need to know about this token and why I'm personally bullish. And as always, guys, make sure to do your own research. None of this is financial advice, and let's get into it. Now, what exactly is Altlayer? Altlayer is trying to accelerate Ethereum with restaked rollups, and it's one of these different projects that have really been on my radar recently, as well as a project that is actually having an airdrop to people that were staking TIA, which I'm a big TIA guy, as well as restaking on Eigen Layer, as well as completing some of their Galaxy Quest, as well as holding some of their NFTs. Now, I'll get into the airdrop portion a little bit later in this video because I want to explain to you guys why this protocol actually has some potential and is really checking off a lot of narratives. Now, when I brought up restaked rollups, you were probably thinking, what the heck is a restaked rollup? Because this isn't something we really just talk about at dinner tables, right? And to kind of give you guys an explanation of how this works and what you need to know, I need to give a little bit of background, a little bit of context. So essentially, guys, you have layer one blockchains such as Ethereum. They're monolithic and they're handling all of the consensus and execution and data of the blockchain. And now, because they're handling everything and because their tech is a little bit more outdated, the transaction costs are crazy and things slowed down heavily. So what happened is you started to have these L2s, layer 2s, which would have rollups. So think of Polygon or think of Arbitrum or Optimism. And what they said is, hey, instead of us doing everything on Ethereum, let's do all of these transactions off chain and on our chain, and then we'll simply roll all of these transactions up, get all of the data, and put it on the Ethereum blockchain. And when they do this, it's significantly cheaper, and that's why you started to see these layer 2s that were roll up layer 2s. But what was happening is the data to actually upload this to Ethereum was really expensive. And right now, Arbitrum pays over $100,000 a day, guys, over $3 million a month, just to submit all of their different data. Now, what's interesting is you had Celestia come out, as well as Avail, as well as Eigen Layer, and they said, hold up, wait a minute, we can actually handle this data availability. We're going to have a bunch of light nodes, and instead of spending $100,000 a month for a layer 2, now all of a sudden you can spend $2,500 a month. And this is actually where the Manta network came out, where now they're an L2 on Ethereum, but they are now using Celestia in order to save a lot of money compared to the competitors. When it comes to the restaking aspect, which is a major aspect of this Altlayer protocol, Eigen Layer is really leading the race. And I hope it's called Eigen Layer. It's probably Eigen Layer. But essentially what they're doing is they're saying, hey, all of this Ethereum that has been staked to, let's say, Ethereum is now locked. And because Ethereum is the oldest and it has the most validators, it, in a sense, is a lot more secure. Because if you have way more validators, there's less validators that really can take control over the network. The issue is, though, is now all of our Ethereum is locked on this one protocol, and it's a lot more difficult for other protocols to now have Ethereum staked to them for their proof of stake consensus. So it creates this fragmented liquidity where all of these other blockchains that are trying to use Ethereum and want to use their validators and want to be more secure are now sort of competing with resources. And what Eigen Layer is doing is they're taking that locked Ethereum with the smart contract and they're allowing you to restake it to all of these other validators, which can now validate other blockchains out there and make them more secure and make them faster and more interoperable. I mean, this is an Eigen Layer video. I'll probably make one in the future, but this is a very big narrative that has been coming out recently and can honestly solve a lot of major things in the space, or at least we think. So when it comes to the Altlayer side, what are they doing with all of this information? Well, guys, they are checking off every single narrative that's out there right now. L2s, rollups, modular blockchains, restaking, airdrops. And what they're doing is they're offering an RaaS, which is a roll up as a service. And they also have restaking rollups. So what's going to happen is they have all of these partnerships and integrations with all these different roll-up stacks such as Arbitrum, OP Stack, Polygon, ZK Sync. They have all these partnerships with Celestia, Avail, Near, Eigen Layer. They have different sequencers. They have different block explorers. They have different bridges. And what they're allowing you to do is with very little background coding knowledge, you can easily launch your own L2 rollup and even have restaking and make it completely customizable. So I can, as a blockchain developer or someone that wants to launch a blockchain, wants to launch my own app, I can go on here and I can be like, okay, I want to launch an Arbitrum rollup. Okay, I now want that to be using Celestia. Okay, now I want my sequencers to be Espresso. I want to have these different block explorers, whatever the case is. So to kind of summarize here, they are making it extremely easy for anyone to launch their own rollup blockchain that is completely customizable. And they are just offering the service in the infrastructure in the dashboard to be able to easily do this for projects. You can see on this page, guys, they are saying we help projects build customized rollups with support of all major rollup stacks, including OP, Arbitrum, Polygon, and ZK Sync, as well as data availability solutions such as Celestia, Engine DA, and Avail. And you can just see how versatile their whole entire development kit is in a way, and how many options different rollups or L2s coming out really have. Another note that I want to bring up about their RaaS system is just all of the different benefits of why you would actually use Altlayer. So there's no technical expertise required. They have a whole entire dashboard as well as a team to really handle all of this infrastructure and all of this management, so individuals that want to start these different projects or their own chains don't actually have to have all of that knowledge and all of that management. Once again, they have the infra management, the infrastructure management, they have customization, support, they have SLA, comprehensive tooling, auto deployment, auto scaling, robust DDoS mitigation, configurable rate limiting, priority updates, resilience and self-healing, as well as all of the support from different rollup SDKs, as well as data availability layers. So this is a pretty big deal. They pretty much have everything out there with these different modular blockchains where you can really customize your pizza and get the best of all worlds. And they're pretty much the ones just supplying the whole entire process as well as the software to easily do this without needing all of the coding background. Now on to the token itself. This token just launched on Binance's launch pool. It's going to be on other centralized exchanges as well, but right now it's just on Binance and Uniswap if you want to purchase it on the Ethereum side. And when it comes to the utility of their token, they're saying there's an economic bond. The Alt token will be used alongside restaked assets to provide economic stake. This stake can be slashed if malicious behavior is detected. It's also going to be used for governance, different protocol incentivization, so operators in the Altlayer ecosystem can earn Alt tokens as a reward for their services. And the big one is protocol fees. Network participants will need to pay for the intra-network services and Alt tokens. So if a lot of different projects and blockchains really want to build on this Alt layer and use their system and their software and their expertise, they are going to have to pay in Alt tokens. So it's one of those situations very similar to Celestia, where as more projects use Celestia and have to pay for that blob space, they end up making more money in the TIA token and the price of TIA goes up. So very similar situation with Altlayer, whereas more projects and more builders want to use their system, now all of a sudden they're going to have more revenue from all those different protocols. Now I could get a lot more technical in this video, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply have all these different documents for you to read up on the process, including how they actually do their restaked rollups with their Vital, their Mock, their Squad. There is so much information you can really dive into. And if you look at their Git book, guys, I mean, there are pages and pages and pages of information that I went through, and it'll take way too long to cover. And I think a lot of people would not even watch it with how technical some of this stuff is. But I recommend learning a little bit more about how they built everything and how everything comes together and how they really are separating from a lot of the different projects and protocols out there that are trying to do something similar. As far as their tokenomics go, there are 10 billion total alt tokens in existence. That is their max supply. And we're going to start off with 11% of those tokens, which is 1.1 billion. 5% of that 1.1 billion is from the Binance launch pool, and that's where they went live just before I started making this video. Following is the different allocations. So they have 5% to that launch pool, 15% towards their team, 18.5% for investors, 5% for the advisors, 20% for the development of the protocol, 15% for ecosystem and community, which also includes airdrops, and then they have another 21.5% for their treasury. They also show their release schedule down here, and one interesting thing to note, guys, is that there aren't a lot of tokens that are circulating right at the beginning. 11% is a pretty small number, and all of the tokens are going to be released by January 2028, so in 4 years. So over the next 4 years, we're going to have 10 times the amount of tokens than we're starting at today, or a little over 9 times the amount of tokens. So a lot of inflation coming. One of the big dates that I want to bring up, though, is actually July of this year. So leading up to July, we actually have no tokens going to the VCs or the different team members. We do have some additional tokens, an additional 5% of all of the tokens. So there's going to be 16% total by June. So this is about 60% more tokens by the time we get to the end of June. But for the most part, it's just going towards development, different community incentives, as well as the treasury. So I don't really have to worry about too much inflation over the next several months. But as soon as we get to July, guys, that's when the cliff ends for their VCs, as well as their team, as well as some of the advisors. And this is where that inflation really starts to kick in, and we could potentially see some sell pressure. So one of the things that I'm thinking of right now is, okay, we don't really have too many tokens starting out. We have a lot more inflation coming. A lot of that inflation is going to happen in 2025 in this next bull run, because all these tokens are going to be released over the next 4 years, but we don't actually have any team or VCs coming in until July. So potentially this is one of those situations that I'm going to hold this and see how well this does leading up to July. And if I'm bullish on what's happening, and if I'm getting a lot of different airdrops, which I think has the potential of happening, then maybe I can withstand some of the inflation that's going to be coming with this token. So this first couple months is going to be a really good test run of how much adoption this protocol and this service actually gets before the inflation from the team really starts kicking in. So to kind of summarize everything I've said so far, Altlayer is pretty much just building the software and hosting the service for anyone to go out and start their own layer 2 rollup. And you can even have the restaking using Eigen Layer, or data availability using Eigen Layer or Celestia or Avail or Near. And they're allowing all these projects to easily customize and deploy under them. And in exchange, they are going to have to pay in alt tokens. Now, what's interesting is one of the reasons I was so bullish on Celestia, and why I'm still bullish on Celestia, is I'm expecting a lot of airdrops to go to TIA stakers. We're already actually getting an airdrop of this token for TIA stakers, and I think there's going to be a lot more to come. So it's interesting with Altlayer is because they're sort of the infrastructure component, very similar to Celestia, you're going to have a lot of blockchains hopefully use them. And the more blockchains that use them, not only are they paying more alt tokens to pay for all of their stuff, but on top of that, there's chances that you now get airdrops from all of these different blockchains. And that's exactly what's been happening with Celestia. I think that's going to continue to happen with Celestia. And I think that if Altlayer can actually gain some traction, which it looks like it is gaining traction, and if they can actually provide this high quality product and service, then I can expect more airdrops to go to them as well. So they're pretty much tapping into every single narrative out there. They're tapping into the restaking, they're tapping into the airdrops, they're tapping into the rollups, they're tapping into the L2s, the data availability, modularity. They're pretty much checking off everything on the box, guys. Now, before getting into the airdrop, I got to quick show my alpha group, because I actually told them about this play before I could make this video, because it's way easier for me to type something rather than make a whole entire video. But I actually just told them about this play as well. And if you're looking for a place where you can talk to like-minded investors, get some analysis, get some different play calls, stuff like that, definitely check out our Jellycubes project. We are a Cardano NFT project, about 2,400 ADA, so about $1,100, $1,200. But we really do provide a lot of value in a lot of different plays, and I would love to see you in the Discord. Now, the last part here, the part where a lot of people are probably excited about and want to know, is how exactly do you get this airdrop? And by the way, guys, this is airdrop number 1. So we actually have more airdrops that are coming. So it's definitely worth paying attention to this whole entire protocol, because there's a chance that we can get a lot more airdrops in the future. How they split up this specific airdrop is 35.47% were going to their different NFT holders. They then had 37% go towards their Galaxy campaigns. This was something that was free and easily farmable, where you could have done this on a lot of different accounts. And they actually had 4 different campaigns that are all getting an allocation. So keep an eye out for their next campaigns, because there's a good chance that they're going to also airdrop to that. You also have the Eigen Layer restakers getting about 13.05%. You have their partners getting 4.49%. And then you have Celestia stakers getting 9.92%, or about 10% of this airdrop. So we can kind of see this trend where it's like, hey, we're using Eigen Layer in order to now have this restaking capability. Let's give them an airdrop. Okay, we're using Celestia for data availability. Okay, let's give them an airdrop. I'm thinking that there's a chance that projects are going to be like, hey, we're using Altlayer, let's give them an airdrop. And that's part of the speculation I have coming in, because I think airdrops are going to be such a big call tag, or such a big narrative as we enter in this next bull run. I'm going to have this article where you can see all of the different details of the NFTs, of the Galaxy campaign, of the restakers, as well as the Celestia holders. I'm going to have all of this in the description of this video, this article. But the big thing that you guys have to know is you can actually go on their site right now and you can claim the tokens. I'm going to have this link in the description so you guys can claim it. Always double check, because there's been a lot of scams out there. Now, if you're someone that's been staking TIA, this is not yet available. And they say this right here, due to the technical differences. So once this actually goes live, I'll try to make some sort of video or post about it for you guys to be able to claim about it and know, but just pay attention if you were staking TIA. And I believe you had to be staking TIA before the 17th of this month, so about 8 days ago. So if you started staking TIA before that, I think you're good to go for this claim, and it should be a profitable claim for you guys, depending on how much TIA you were staking. And you'll also be able to claim Dimension, as well as a bunch of other airdrops that are happening soon. So still very bullish on TIA. And if you want to learn more about TIA, watch some of my videos about it, and you'll get all of the alpha you need on how to stake it to maximize your rewards. One very important thing for you guys to know as you're looking at this is this airdrop claim site is only going to be open for a month. So by February 25th, if you do not claim this, you are shit out of luck. So if you were someone that was staking TIA, please pay attention to their Twitter and wait for when you can actually claim their tokens, and make sure you don't get scammed from some fake site out there that said, oh, you can claim the tokens. Just be aware, guys, that this might take a week or so, and then once that happens, then you can claim, and then you can kind of rest easy. Now, the last thing that I want to bring up here is their actual price of their token and where I think this is going. And once again, this isn't financial advice, but I actually made a call in our Discord and said, hey, if you have a Binance account, go for this when it releases, because I think it's going to do very well. And it opened up at 0.006, and it went all the way up to 0.31, so over 5,000% within a couple minutes. Now, I hate that I'm a US citizen and I can't even partake in this, which is like the worst thing ever. Screw the US sometimes. I love the US, but screw the US sometimes. But I still think that this is actually a good price of the token. And if you're in the US and you can't have a Binance account, what I'd recommend is using Uniswap. You can actually buy on there. Right now, though, we're looking at a 0.31 price of the token. There's 1.1 billion tokens circulating. So it's something like a 350, 360 million circulating market cap right now, if I'm doing the math right off of the top of my head. And I think that's still pretty undervalued. When I was looking at the top 150 coins, I think this is only around 130 or 140. And I think that it deserves to be a lot further along than that, especially if they're able to pick up on projects similar to what happened to Celestia. I also want to note here that I've been covering the Manta token, and I said the Manta token was going to go anywhere from $2 to $4. And right now it was actually at $2 when it first released. And then it's been slowly pumping up to $3. And I think this can be one of the situations with this token as well, where not a lot of people know about it. No one is really building on it yet. There haven't been any airdrops. It's still early in that sense. And I think it's one of those tokens that's going to settle and might go sideways for a little bit, and then it'll start to pump, similar to Celestia, a little different, but similar to Celestia, where there's now more airdrops and more people are paying attention to it. So personally for me, I said if this is under 0.5, which is not even in the top 100 coins, I think that's right at the cutoff, then I'm a buyer. So I did go in and I bought some of these tokens, and I'm going to be dollar cost averaging. And this is one of those plays that I'm willing to hold for the longer term. Now, I do know that a lot of the inflation, there's going to be 60% additional inflation till we get to July. and then that starts to bump up with all the team and VCs and stuff like that. So the next couple months is going to be a big proving point for me when it comes to this token. And if it's not moving the way I want it to move, or it's not getting the airdrops or the adoption that I'd like to see, then I'll probably sell before all of those different VCs start to get in. But that's one of those things I'm going to play by ear. But yeah, guys, that wraps up the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow along to learn more about all of this different blockchain stuff that is releasing. There's a lot of different content that's on my list to make and show you guys. And I definitely want to cover Eigen Layer or Eigen Layer and also learn how to pronounce that for the next video, so I can go over restaking a little bit more in depth, because I think there's a lot of potential there as well. But yeah, guys, that wraps it up, and I'll catch y'all later.